In this video, we're going to have a look at the new concept to vector feature inside of Adobe Illustrator. So this is a completely new feature that's been in beta for a bit. It's seen a number of refinements based on feedback, and now it's out in the general build. So what do we have here? This is a little drawing that I made some years ago, and I actually made it inside of Adobe Fresco, but this is a photograph of it. I wanted to keep it as sort of non-digital as I can. Right, it's using a bunch of pixel brushes, of course, to do the drawing and the shading and everything inside of Fresco. So it's very akin to a basic sketch. So what you do to actually use concept to vector is you click on your bitmap image that's been brought into Illustrator, and then you can find it right here, concept to vector. So if I click on this, there are a couple different things we can choose from here. So it's auto-selected Gemini 3.1. But we can change that, right? So we could pick something else. So if I choose like an older version, right, 2.5, you can see that takes 10 credits, whereas 3.0 takes 40 credits. But since it chose, right, 3.0, I'm just going to leave it at that. And let's go ahead and hit generate. We can see over on the side here in the properties panel, we have a concept to vector, and the prompt is empty right now. It just populated. So refine the sketch into a clean vector illustration. Use bold, well-defined lines with sharp edges. Remove all shading, textures, and noise. Yeah, so hopefully it'll create a nice line art type vector image from my Fresco sketch. Now, once it's complete, we can look at some of these options down below here. Like any of the generative AI stuff, it can take some time to process. And this is a pretty complicated thing to do right here, especially since my original image is, it's got quite a bit of detail to it already. Of course, as always, oh, there we go. Well, it was a bit creative, wasn't it? That's not quite like my original looks like. So, right, since it's done this already and it's made some choices for me, notice we can definitely adjust some things here. So we could change in the contextual taskbar our model, and we could change the prompt and everything. But what do we have inside of our properties panel here? We've got sample presets. We can change the settings. Let's go ahead and change those settings right here. So here we go, concept to vector. Here we can choose from very particular things, right? So how we want this to end up looking. Do we want it just simple line art? Do you want a drawing? And you can see these get more and more complex as we move along. Now, match reference image is actually at more right now. So, it hasn't done an absolutely beautiful job of what I'm looking at, unfortunately. But yeah, you can also choose raster output, which I found really interesting when I was testing things here. And you've got your slider here, whether we want to match it less or more. And yeah, that's basically it for our content here. So, like if I were to choose geometric, perhaps. So when I do that, we can see it's adjusted our prompt here. So create a stark black and white graphic made entirely of solid geometric shapes with hard edges, flat fills, and strong contrast between positive and negative space. Let's go ahead and generate again. And you'll notice this does use 40 credits at a time, at least when I'm using this particular model, Gemini here. And we can try some different ones. Now, this is very different from the last time I tested it. I actually haven't used this feature in a few months. But yeah, originally they had 3 different models to test from. And I don't quite remember which one I liked the best, but there was one that really stood out quite a bit to me during testing. But let's see what we get here. And once we finish with this skull, I do have a photographic image that we can use. See, now that's much better. That's a lot closer to my original image. So I think what happened, so this is using Gemini 3. No, they're both using Gemini 3. Interesting. Yeah, this particular prompt just worked so much better in this case. I mean, this looks like a vectorized version of my drawing. So that's pretty nice. Let's actually try a different, here, let's close this out. Let's try a different one here. So maybe GPT image. And let's go back into settings here. Does it show 60 credits? My goodness. It went up. And GPT 1.5 uses 2, or 10 rather. Let's go ahead and try that one because it's pretty inexpensive. Now, I don't think we're going to get much better than that second chance there. That one came out really, really good. So I'll probably just revert to that. But it's helpful to see how different models handle the translation of my actual drawing to vector content. And also, I mean, a lot of the content that I see being worked on with this feature is very basic. It is very much just line art, and not as detailed as my little Scully here. Oh, that's terrible. Yeah, so you can see there's definitely a big difference, right, between different image models here, and the prompts as well definitely change things. Now, I mean, that's perfect right there. That's it looks exactly what I drew, but vectorized. So pretty good. All right, let's scroll down in my document, and I've got a photograph of my cat Leo, who I use in all sorts of things like this, right? Let's go ahead and remove the background first. And hopefully it'll remove the, we'll see what it removes. You just never really know with this stuff what it's going to do, which is something I just really don't like about using a lot of the generative AI stuff is you're just guessing, right? Okay, so there we go. The background's removed. We're going to do concept to vector. And yes, I thank you. Start. No, I don't stop Adobe. There we go. No, guys. I don't know why it's pulled up this onboarding thing right here because I've already done it a couple times, but there we are. So it's chosen 3 color here. I guess I'll keep its suggestion. And it's saying GPT. Let's take the match reference image to the middle here. And what we're looking at for a prompt is flat vector illustration using exactly 3 colors. 1 dominant background tone, 1 midtone for the primary shapes, and 1 accent for focal detail. All right, so this is going to use 10 credits. Let's see what happens. And I think this is one of those models that I wasn't too happy with when testing things. And remember, we did take that slider down midway between less and more of adherence to my original image. This one, it's a photograph, so I want it to be a little more creative, for lack of a better word, when it comes to the translation. Oh, that's cute. That I actually do like that quite a bit. So GPT seems to be really useful for when you want more abstract, solid shapes like that. I wasn't happy with this model when I used the skull, but for this one, it works. Let's choose Gemini once again. And we're using 2.5 here. And I think I'll keep it at the middle. We'll do all the same settings, just with a different engine here, different model. So many loading bars. When it comes to this stuff, I suppose it can't be helped, but yeah. Well, that is horrible. Yeah, so this is much, much better. So what does this actually look like, right? If we go into our layers, we can see each of the images here. So we've got our originals, so here and here, and then we have our output. So let's have a look at Leo as output. So you can see here, it actually did a pretty nice job. So I can like grab this whole thing here, this whole part of Leo, and right, there's this little part right here between his legs that I might want to adjust the colors. Oh, it's right here. Let's just move that up. There we go. Look at that. So we move that up in our stack, and now it's we've remedied the sort of merging of his legs and his tail and everything into a clump there. And of course, these are all true vectors. We can go through and make any of these selections and do what you would normally do to vector content. You can use your direct selection tool. You can adjust the fill and the stroke settings and all the rest. And the same deal for our skull up top here. If we have a look, like for instance, I would probably want to get rid of a lot of this stuff, even though it was instructed, right? So let's just identify and remove some of these. And these are pretty easy to tell because they're kind of blotchy, right? Gosh, there's a lot of them. Very small. But actually we can see the whole skull right here. So that's nice. The rest of these things can be pretty easily isolated. It does a pretty good job when it comes to organizing. Of course, as you can see here, we've cleaned up both of these, which is absolutely fine because the AI has saved us a lot of time doing other things in the actual generation of this content. I just wonder why it's gone through and made so many of these little bits and pieces here. There we go. So that's what we have when it comes out. There's our vector version. And then, of course, over here is our original. So in the layer stack, getting rid of a lot of the additional stuff has, really cleaned this up for us. And then here's the rest and how it's been sort of grouped together and organized in this way. So yeah, anyhow, that is concept to vector inside of the newest version of Adobe Illustrator, which I should remember this, version 30.5 of Illustrator is what you need to be able to use this version. Or feature, rather.